Quavo, Yeat, and BNYX, new trip. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It Music Reviews Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a pretty good episode for you today. Now, I've been seeing this song being teased on Twitter all week. I've been waiting for this, wondering how this song's going to sound like. We got Quavo. It's been a while since I talked about Quavo. I think the last thing that I heard about Quavo was he was doing some kind of country trap fusion song. Honestly, I don't even remember it. Don't really care about it much. But then I saw this song right here. This has got a Yeat feature on it. We have a BNYX feature on it too. I don't know who BNYX is. I don't know. I heard him at the end of the song doing his thing. But let's get into this song, guys. This song's called New Trip, starting off with the beat. I'm going to say this. This is what I'm talking about when I want, 2025 trap beats. I need something to really listen to. And I think this really gets the job done. Already, those keys are a big highlight in this whole entire song. I like how the keys have multiple switch-ups on them. They have moments where, it's kind of a lower kind of register on the keys. It's kind of a slower rhythm. And then as the song keeps going on, you get that pickup. It goes faster and faster and faster. And you get these slight instrumental switch-ups that are happening throughout this whole entire song, which honestly, in my opinion, is overall really fire when you're listening to the song. And the fact, too, guys, those drums. These drums are explosive. These 808s are going to light your fucking ears on fire. I mean, goddamn Lord mighty. This is like if you, went down on a highway and the highway, was packed full with a bunch of goddamn big-ass speakers. These 808s are just, booming inside your ears. I mean, overall, really fucking fire, in my opinion. And I think this beat is one of the definitely standouts. I like the little effects that are in the background, just kind of helps, make this beat sound really good as you're listening to it. Keeps you wanting to go back and listen to the song over and over and over again. That's really fire, in my opinion. And the fact, too, guys, you got, a really explosive hook, which we'll get into right now, because the hook is one of the first parts of the song. You got Yeat, you got BNYX on here doing their thing on here with some background vocals. But one of the big standouts on here is Yeat. I mean, Yeat sounds absolutely goddamn fire on here. I mean, Lord mighty. I like all the different flows that are happening throughout this hook. There's multiple flow switches baked into this hook alone. And honestly, I think that's when you make a hook really stand out, when you can have the hook, actually have some switch ups. It's not the same fucking 5-second flow. Then we move on to a couple of verses and then we call it a goddamn day. You actually got some variation in this hook. You got some vocal switches that happen throughout this hook. You also got some good flow switches that are in here, which sound absolutely goddamn fire, in my opinion. And overall, I think this is one of the better rap hooks that I've definitely heard on here. 100%. Fire-ass hook. Honestly, better than most of the 2025 rap music that I've covered on this goddamn show. I mean, I've heard some fucking boring-ass goddamn hooks. This hook right here easily can get stuck in your head. Vocal switch-ups are definitely on top notch here. All the different flow switches that happen throughout the song are absolutely goddamn fire when you're listening to the song. And overall, I really do enjoy what I'm hearing from this hook. I think this is one of the better hooks, And I like how Yeat, you got some BNYX, even like Quavo adding some ad-libs in the background, just adding some fun vibes throughout this whole entire track. One of the big standouts. And I kind of like how, this song actually has a good structure with it, You got the hook, you got the verses, you got the hook again, you got the verses, It's just got a nice structure when you're listening to the song. There's been a couple of rap songs that I've reviewed so far recently that have had structure issues that, have felt like, all right, the end of the song doesn't feel like the end of the song. It feels like you could have added something here. You just kind of let the beat play out. This song's packed full with everything here. Now, I really do enjoy this hook, but let's get into the Quavo now. Quavo, sometimes Quavo's hit or miss. Sometimes the melodic rapping's fire, sometimes it's not fire. Does it work on this song? And I'm going to say absolutely. I think this is one of the better Quavo verses that I've heard. The flows are really good. The different flow switches that happen on this Quavo verse was overall really fire, in my opinion. sometimes Quavo's verses can get kind of, monotonous, kind of, the same shit that I've heard, over and over and over again type shit. But I think this is one of those things where Quavo actually sounds really good on here. I like the different vocal switch-ups that Quavo does on his verse too. Just adds some really great value when you're listening to the track. And I think Quavo's a good starting point. Is Quavo my favorite verse on here? Does Quavo completely kill it on here? I'm going to say that for somebody else that's coming up right after this. But I'm going to say that Quavo had a pretty good verse. Nice flows. Good vocals on here. Quavo did his thing. I like always Quavo's flow. It's that usual style that he's always got. But he sounds really good on this explosive trap beat. You don't got a basic-ass beat backing this stuff up. You actually got a beat that's actually got something to it. You got some keys that are riding the flows with Quavo. It's just overall pretty fire in my opinion. So I like Quavo's verse. Quavo did his thing on here. But I'm going to have to tell y'all something. Already when I'm listening to this song, my favorite verse on this song is going to have to be Yeat. Alright? Look, Yeat's been on a run. I can't even lie. He dropped this album. He dropped this album in the summertime. I didn't even review the album because I was, doing some football stuff. But I'm going to be real. If I reviewed that album on this show, that probably would have been my highest album that I've rated for rap music in 2025. I mean, Yeat's just been on a crazy-ass run. And this song right here, is really fucking fire. I think this is one of the better Yeat verses that I've heard. Yeat sounds fire as fuck on here. The way he can just easily switch his voice up. Sometimes I feel like he does it better than Playboi Carti. Like Playboi Carti, yeah, he's good. But goddamn Yeat, man. He'll just switch his flow up, mid-sentence. He'll switch his flow up mid-sentence. He'll switch his vocals up mid-sentence. He'll just do this whole fucking switch-up thing. And honestly, it's just really fire. The flow that Yeat uses on here is completely, honestly, one of the best flows that I've heard. You got moments where Yeat's just doing these mini switch-ups, switching up his flow here, going a little bit faster with this flow, slowing down, switching up his vocals, but then picking the pace back up and having a really faster flow and just sounding really confident on this beat, sounding absolutely goddamn fire. I can't believe it, but, I'm going to say this. I mean, Yeat definitely had my favorite verse, and I think Yeat is already, killing it in the 2025 space. But this feature right here just solidifies that, Yeat is still fucking killing it out there. And Lord Mighty, Yeat had my favorite verse on here. Now, we do have a moment where, there's, like, BNYX shows up at the end of the song. Honestly, I've never really reviewed his music, but I think his vocals were fine at the end. Maybe you could have had a third verse, to really cap this song off. But honestly, I think Quavo and Yeat really carried their own on here, really provided some great value. So overall, guys, when we talk about this song, Quavo, Yeat, BNYX, New Trip, this song right here is definitely a fresh-ass rap song. I think if you're looking for a rap song in 2025 that's kind of got a fresh sound to it, it's got a really good addicting hook to it. It's got some really good rap verses kind of baked into here. I think you're really going to enjoy this track. New Trip, in my opinion, is really good. I was quite surprised. I was wondering how this song was going to sound. It's been, propped up, all week. Quavo and Yeat. I'm like, oh shit, who's going to be on here? How's this going to fucking sound? And this song definitely blew my expectations out the water. I honestly didn't even know, like, what the fuck this song was even going to sound like. And then this song, like, completely blows out everything. From the beat, from the verses, from the hook. Really fire, in my opinion. New Trip is easily going to get an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. And if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. We're dropping new content every single day, and we got a lot of content to talk about. I mean, from Latina music, from country music. I mean, we're about to be going fucking crazy. So make sure you follow the damn show, and I'll see you later. Have a good one. Yeah, guys. Bye.